There we go. Okay. There we go. It like went to a completely different I don't know. It was like a bunch of numbers, so it probably like was an issue with Streamlabs that it changed my setting. So now, I guess now you'll actually talk. I've been talking for a few minutes, just kind of getting stuff out there, and luckily, I was able to look at the chat and see if it was if there's anything good with it. Is it working now? Is it all good now? Let me see. I'll just go live. You might hear like a playback. There we go. I don't know. There we go. I think it's good now. Yeah, we got stuff to talk about. But have you seen the Fortnite spoilers, my guy? I am hyped for the Fortnite chapter. Thanks to the bag on Twitter. My hero fanboys got mad. I mean, the thing is, like, All for One has been so boring for a bad guy. It's really weird because, like, it feels like when I see like how Horikoshi is going about the two of them. Granted, like there's still stuff to come. Like maybe it's just like he's waiting on whatever his big reveal is and final stuff with Shigaraki. That could easily show up within this arc. But right now, it feels like he's like jumping back and forth between like which one he's trying to figure out will be his main character. Greetings from Greece? I don't know. I got people from Greece. I actually want to go there at some point. There's a lot of stuff over there. I don't really want to go and do like any crazy touristy things. I kind of just want to go and see some of like the old stuff. I mean, to a degree, but I don't want to like go and be obnoxious about it. I just want to go and look and just enjoy, all the old ruins and old coliseums and different things from around that whole area of the world. Just because I think that'd be really cool. I think just visually, just like because like one thing I really like doing, it freaks me out. But it's like, think of like a building. It's like, oh, this building is 2,000 years old. And they just try and think of like all the events that have been going on while this one building has been going up. Like there's that tree. Like there was a tree. I can't remember where, but there's like a tree. It's like, I think they said it was like 5,000 or 6,000 or something ridiculous. And it's like, think of the fact that this tree has been up for a lot of recorded history. Stuff like that I just find intriguing. Like it's nothing like too crazy. It's not like I'm putting some philosophical thing. It's just really neat to think about. Like there's that is an Icelandic shark that's like 200 years old or whatever, and it's like this shark has been out there eating fish and doing shit like the whole time America's been in existence. Is just like a crazy thing to me. I always thought that was just really neat. But yeah, it feels like with My Hero, there's like Horikoshi is like he's unsure of like which one to direct as his actual main character. Or not main character, main antagonist, like end villain. And so like at times he's like, oh well, All for One is like this master planner bad guy, but it's like he barely does anything. So like whenever we get his like big plan schemes, it's just like he pops up and it's like, haha, I got you. But it's not the same as like, it's not like with Aizen. It's a good example. Like Aizen, when you see like certain parts connecting, you can see all these misdirections. He's way more like he's got his hands way more direct in like stuff going on that he's manipulating. Where with All for One, it just feels like he does it only when he ever shows up. Like every time he shows up, it's just like, well, now I have to reveal the thing that I've been doing that I actually have. But then you don't really see anything of that until now. And then it's like what you have the traitor thing that sat in the back for like years. Ugh. Really rocking the Shining Stars as villains. I mean, so far we got two of them looking pretty good. I'm not a huge... I know it's probably not the most popular thing. I'm not a huge fan on Killer. I don't have any negative opinions on him, but like for me, I'm just like, I don't have my stocks in him. I'm a little bit more intrigued with Brigadine. Brigadine has some more of my my interest, but obviously, like I've said before, Clown is my guy out of the four. Like I was happy Clown was doing good. My only question is like, is Rebecca gonna get back up? Is she gonna get back in the fight? Because like, I like Clown looks good, but I really want Rebecca to have like a good solid win where she's actually like is able to pull through a victory without it being like some like with Brittany where she had like the vacuum where it's like she was smart but like she won through like a level of tactics. I want her to like have an actual win where she wins from being a better fighter, from being stronger. I think she deserves it, and it's like we're not gonna probably get that many times throughout the series we're really gonna see it because we're like already like more than halfway done. So it's like what she can maybe have like another fight or two really when you think about it within the long scope of things. Like we have a lot of people that we have to cycle in for other fights too, and Rebecca, she's like a weird spot between Ellie and Lucy, where it's like Ellie didn't really fight, and then like Lucy fought with like a lot of her fights up until the Grand Magic Games were way more of that kind of like way that Brittany was, where it's like now she has the actual capability to like fight, not just set up like some tricks and strategies in that same manner. Like she's got her own things that she's doing, but for the most part now she's like wins fights through like actual like combat tactics. And Rebecca seems to sit like kind of in between of those two. Because like even with her overdrive, like she doesn't seem to have anything really too powerful. It's obviously more in like it's an OP ability, but we haven't seen anything that I think is like it's what she deserves for being post time skip, has an overdrive. Like I think Rebecca deserves like a really solid win and something that would really kind of like push up her status in like her capabilities. Like I said, like the idea that I really would like is like not only she speeds herself up, but she can slow her enemies down. So it's like somebody like Clown is just like he can't do his tricks because maybe he comes to like a snail's pace or something like that. Is what I would hope to be what we're going with. Who knows? Like that's gonna be one of those things we're just gonna have to sit by and then kind of like let the chapters roll. But I'm hoping Rebecca gets something. Like I'm hoping she's able to get out of there. That looks like Galand and that Soul Girl. The Galand part is hype. I don't care at all about what her Marcilla or whatever. I don't give a shit about her. The only thing I ever thought was really neat about her is that her like actual form was like a big snake. I thought that was cool, just in design. But I mean, I don't care about that. Galand is back. Galand's golf tour is gonna resume. I can't wait. I'm hoping so bad. If he gets like a Blue Note treatment where he's kind of coming back just to, be a flex and somebody's going to clap him and, kind of put like power levels in like the current standings in a perspective. But if he's back, it doesn't matter if he's back for a while, he's back the rest of the series, or he's back just for this like mini arc. I want either the Galand game to happen or I want him to play golf. Like I want him to do one of the two things that I think were the most fun about his character. Because, like, some of the other stuff, like the fact that he's just kind of like a goofy drunk, it'd be kind of hard to, like, fit that in the story. Whereas, like, Galand game was somebody we could easily see. Or just go back crazy golfing. I was a big fan of his crazy golfing. Won't spoil the leaks for the next Zero chapter, but I say the Dark Stars have been awesome as hell. I've seen some stuff for it. I've already seen all those spoilers. I think they're doing good so far. I will say, though, like what is he going to have all of them but Wizard win? Like, what's going to be the plan for that? Like, Brigandine probably not. Like, I can see Homura winning because theirs isn't going to be like a cheat tactic win. He's going to try and like fight Homura like head on. So I think it's way more in Homura's favor versus the other ones. I'm surprised Rebecca didn't do any Cat Leaper stuff, but maybe like she was worried about I was going to say maybe she was worried about like messing with the plan and the Chronovage and stuff, but it's like if she was that worried, then like she wouldn't even really get into combat. I don't know. It's a little bit of a strange setup with that one. I would like to see, like I said, though, I want to see her like have an actual win, something actually like a solid thing for her. Slain actually the name of the moon god in Greece. Not sure if you knew that. Yeah, I did. I looked that up at one point because I was like I was trying to do some research on different like deities and stuff when I was looking into it and eventually finding stuff about like the luminary days for each of the dragon gods and stuff. I know that one. Probably my favorite moon-like deity, though. I'm gonna probably go with the moon presence. I mean, that's not like historical lore, but I mean, it kind of counts. All for one lacks charisma compared to Ziggy's barely a personality. Yeah, he's just like. It's like, do you remember the old Inspector Gadget show? He's like Dr. Claw. He's like he feels like that guy that you would feel like you're never gonna really see, and he's only doing stuff from the shadows. But, like, we see him, and every time he's that character, it's, like, right when he's about to do it. Like, haha, my reveal thing. And then it's, like, after that, nothing. Like, he's, like, it's like Aizen, but without the build-up. And I'm just not a fan of it. He's just not interesting to me. I like concepts of him, but it's, like, outside of that, I think that All For One is a really boring character. I thought Dobby was great. I thought Dobby was a really cool bad guy. I thought his whole setup was intriguing in, like, how he was the product of this dude's own anger and, like, whole, like, like whole superiority complex and this idea that he was going to try and breed like a child to be better than All for One. He was going to win through that way. And then it's just like how things kept going downhill, and it kept like every single stumble just kept making it worse. And I thought that was really interesting. And then like how it all came back for Endeavor, and like it all came back in full circle, I thought was like one of the best parts of the story, because it's like one of those things like you knew who he was. You knew where it was going to go, but it was just that waiting factor of when are we going to get to this? When are we going to get to this point, and how is it going to be handled? And I think the stuff with him went well. The only part I was like on was like Todoroki's mom was like a little bit like, she's a little weird about it, because it felt like a character that should be there. Like the way that she like put herself off was like somebody who was like about to like give you a lesson, and it's like, no, you're part of the problem too. You went along with this. You definitely caused a lot of issue in this whole thing. Obviously, she's not the sole person in it. Like it's very much heavily on Endeavor, but I don't know. I felt like it was weird, because it was like, it's like how like it, not the same thing, but it's like how when like characters would just kind of like in Boruto like kind of interact with Orochimaru, and like it's normal, and then you remember all the stuff that he's done, and it's like, how the shit are any characters able to have a casual conversation with this guy given his past? It's not like Mercephobia where like he's like, oh, I found the error of my ways, and I gotta put myself into a better stance. I'm never gonna really forgive myself, but it's something that I can never get past. It's part of me, but the best I could do is try and have a better future and work towards a better, life. Whereas like somebody like Orochimaru, it just feels like they brushed everything under the rug, and it's just like, he's like, do you think if I don't say anything and I start healing people, they'll kind of forgive me of my war crimes and like all the people I experiment on and stuff? It's like, no. I'm just gonna say time for the Sunday stream. I'll just put that. We'll talk about some of the Shonen Jump. I need to go back and look at one thing I want to reread is Mashal, because I actually been really enjoying Mashal this last, like the last like 50, actually I mean in general, but I mean like the last like 50 or so chapters have been really good. But I can't remember if this dude, was it Rio Grants, or I think is his name. I don't remember if he did anything before. I'm pretty sure I've seen him, but I don't remember if he ever really did anything important in the story. I'd have to ask Bud on that one. That's my Mashal go-to guy. I have like somebody for each series. Like if I need something for One Piece, I'll ask Sabo, or 7 Days into Last Quan. I got a guy for him. It's like, you got an air conditioning guy, or you got a freaking carpeting guy. Only when Rebecca wins if she either unlocks a new move or Clown's weakness again, because right before she can't match Clown's stats and battle dress. Well, I mean, like, she doesn't have to, like, she needs something. Because, like, all she did was what? Move around, like, quickly and, like, was nimble? You'd think she would have something, like, extra up her sleeve. Like, some form of cool new attack, or some form of time ability. Like I said, speed herself up, slow the enemy down. Because she's not fast because she's running fast. She's fast because of time dilation. She's manipulating a degree of time to make her fast. Could Akinogi eat the Tree of Kulfoth? Also, Yorax? Yes. So I have 100% belief that he'd be able to eat it. Shiki being Ziggy would be a better plot twist than Julius being the fourth Zelgrata sibling. I think that, I mean, there's going to be a degree of like, how it's set up and it depends on how it goes. The only thing I would say that'd be kind of weird, but I kind of get it, would be, what is his overall plan? I mean, like, it would make sense if he would want to go and kill himself in the past to maybe prevent that future. But I don't know. I think the Shiki and Ziggy thing is a really intriguing plot line. Like, I've had that belief for a bit, because a lot of Eden Zero's overarching plot structure. Because if you look at, like, Rave Master, it's more of like, okay, this is the better timeline, but Lucia didn't view it as the true timeline, so he wanted to fix it. But it's like, well, no, then you're going to be trying pretty much just to destroy everyone's lives for your own beliefs. Zeref's was like a twist on that, because obviously it had more to do with like actually like what he thought was going to do better and do a lot of better things for the world. With Eden Zero, a lot of it, because of Rebecca's powers, feels like Rebecca is a character moving through all of these alternative endings in like an RPG. And Ziggy might be the bad ending for Shiki. That might be like worst ending. He goes down the darkest path, and Shiki would be like, I guess, Ziggy, because Ziggy was going to be his original name before he changed it to Shiki. If he's like, I need to go back and kill myself to stop all this from happening kind of thing, I think that would be pretty cool. Like, we would just need some explanations, because it'd be really, it's one of those things where I could see it happening, but, like, there's a lot of questioning that would then go into that whole bit. Maybe he's from that 20,000 year point in the future that we saw way early on. Another plot twist, Boruto ends up being the villain and Kawaki being the hero. I mean, sort of, like, the whole Momoshiki thing, like, being part of him. I know that's actually, like, still part of the story. I don't know if they're ever going to get back to it. But that Killer Clown and Brig aren't going down like oceans. I mean, the oceans were pretty ass. My only thing is, like, what is Mishima's plan then going forward? Are they going to have a rematch? Is it going to be like a different thing kind of going on with them? And where are things going to go from there? It'll be kind of strange that, like, if Brigantine loses, we're going to get Brigantine Mark III. I'm on board for that, though. I'm okay with, like, cool robot upgrades. I don't dislike Kaido, like, all for one, but Kaido fans down bad, unfortunately. Here's the thing, and I will give this. I think One Piece fans are looking at it way wrong. I think they're looking at this completely as a shonen battle series and not from the context of what's going on. I would agree. A character that big having some really big, shiny, climactic, amazing ending that, like, has its own unique tone to how he was defeated would be cool. You know, like, even like how Akinogi got rushed, like, he still had a really cool, different way that he went down. Obviously, like, the cool big firearm, an alternate dimension and stuff. You see, like, his soul and his body, like, deteriorating. Stuff like that is really cool. When you have, like, a villain have some form of way that, like, you remember them going down. I don't think that's the way that should work for Kaido, because with Kaido wants that. I think it makes more sense for Luffy to beat him with nobody really watching, except for a couple people, obviously, like Yamato and Momonosuke. I almost forgot his name. The dude is borderline irrelevant in a lot of ways, and I don't care for him. But I think it makes a lot of sense for Luffy to do that with nobody around to be able to tell the story of how Kaido lost in some big defeat, how this big dragon got knocked out of the sky, underground, into lava and stuff. I think it makes way more sense for him to just go out quietly. In a similar manner to Odin, but Odin's story is retold, and it had events in the story that were impacted from it. Whereas Kaido not having that, like, big grand ending makes a lot of sense for a character who wanted that, and that just kind of, like, gives him that last sour before he's gone. We'll see. Maybe, you know, the One Piece stands could be right. Maybe Kaido will be back up at some point. Who knows? I think it makes more sense, though, for him to be denied that glorious ending that he wanted. Next time, UA. Next time. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much how All for One feels. I think he's pretty bland. All for One dropped so hard, I think he wanted to be the Demon Lord. Dude, he's just boring. Like, he's just not very interesting as a bad guy. And I think part of it is we haven't had a lot of focus on him. So, like, we've only really gotten him post being this already big bad guy. He's already the way he is. We haven't seen really much for flashbacks of what got him to this state. And we haven't really been given a lot of insight into him outside of just being, I'm a big mean bad guy. I've got a lot of schemes going on. We don't have stuff like all the previous stuff with Aizen. We don't have, like, stuff like, him and the Espada sitting down drinking tea and, like, pretty much civilizing the, what were previously, like, wild soul monsters that just kind of rampaged around the place for the most part. You don't really have a lot of stuff like that with All for One, and I think he's missing a lot of content that makes him interesting. Let me see. Also, just real quick, I had to do a quick chill. I really appreciate it. We got 21 people in here, 6 likes. We can get a couple more likes, and subscribe if you haven't. If you feel like donating or joining and becoming a member, you can. We got a new poll up, actually, right now. And this one we're going to do this one is on fights, so I'll do, like, a video going over, like, an aspects of one of the fights in the series. We have Gray versus Rufus, Urza versus Midnight, Natsu versus Jalal, and Gildarts versus Blue Note. And so if you want to vote for any of those, You need to be a member. You can click join, be a member. The numbers are only, what, a $1 and a $2. You don't have to. It's all optional. It's just to be like, if you want, like, the priority comments. So if you comment on a video, I can see member comments above in, like, a whole separate box than all the other comments. It's kind of like super chats, essentially, anytime you comment. And I go and look at my video comments. And the other one, you get poll voting rights. So it's like, we'll put up a poll, vote on it. You can kind of have a say in like which video you want next. Obviously, if one doesn't win, then we just keep the losers in and we'll put it in for the next one. Kind of like how I used to do the character videos. I don't think Kaido will die. Don't see him doing much from now on, though. Feels bad. The thing is, like, with that, if he doesn't die, and then it's like he doesn't really do anything for us the series, it's like, why keep him alive? Like, stuff like that I'm just not a fan of. I want to see just Natsu fighting Dogramag. Suzaku should help, and Gray and Gajo at least, or at least Gajo and Suzaku since they're Dragon Stars. I think that Natsu will fight him one-on-one in his human form, and once he goes Dragon form, I think a bunch of other characters are going to have to step in. I don't think Natsu can do that by himself at that point. I think he'll be fine against human Dogramag. I think him and human Dogramag will be alright swapping attacks and matching each other. But the second Dogramag goes into his Dragon form, I think Natsu really needs to realize, like, this is a different ball game. What do you think of Indy showing up in the Dogramag fight? I don't know. I think it... The thing is, like, I wanted him to just show up in the previous chapter, because I think it made sense with the whole PTSD and stuff that was going on. If he does it with Dogramag, we need a really good reason as to why he would, he'd be shifting now and going into this state, because we know he has to get to that, like, seeing red point where he just loses all reason. I heard Jumps axed another manga a few days ago. Yeah, they just axed Ayashimon. I'm gonna hold up on Doron until I know that it's not axed. Because I like the series. There was a couple stuff in the newest chapter that made me think it is. Like, calling this, like, new bad guy, like, oh, you're one of the best supernatural energy users, like, in the I don't know if they have a name for the world, this Bananoke world? Or is it just, like, Spirit World or something? But it's just, like, that guy's, like, near the top. I wonder if, like, it's maybe he's not at full power, or there's something in there. Or it's, like, are we already, like, nearing just showing all the big people? Like, the series is in a weird spot because it's like I can't tell right now if it's getting axed or not, but I'm hoping it's not. Mishima's T3 projects, I'm pretty sure that's over the 3 games that they're working on now. Villains that just want a good fight without a cheap tactics or interfere are always fun. I mean, I like it when there's, like, if there's characters aren't gonna have some, like, deeper backstory or anything more complex to them, they're kind of, you gotta devote. You have to really put in the effort. Like, someone like Zero had really like, nothing to him other than, like, what we were given. Really, like, we were given everything with Zero. You can understand him from just his dialogue. It's not like Zera for Hades or Mardgear or somebody. You understand Zero from pretty much what he directly tells you and how he is and what he wants. But a character like that you stick with and you really commit to that, like, just crazed, destroying dude, those are fun. But it's like when you have a character that you have something, not the same thing, but it's someone like All For One who's supposed to be this tactical, I've got 10 steps for all of your 5 or something, and then you don't really commit to it. So it's like only when we see him he does some, like, aha reveal. It just doesn't feel as right. It's not the same where it's like if you have, say if we had, like, more scenes of him doing stuff, but it's really vague in what he's doing, and it's like, okay, he has, like, the ideas based off of all the other stuff right now. You gather up all information in the series. He's doing one of these 3 things, and then you get to it finally, and it turns out he's doing 2 of them, and he had another guy do the 3rd thing, so all 3 of them are kind of there, and he made sure that, like, it all went down, like, as, like, in line with his plans as possible. Stuff like that. It's like what builds characters like that. Like I said, Aizen constantly, like, every once in a while you used to see Aizen, he's scheming, he's dealing with his minions, talking about the Hogyoku, maybe making some Arankars. You get stuff like that really builds on that sneaky tactician bad guy. Whereas, like, we don't really get that for All For One. What we see him in a hospital gown, he's carrying around equipment and talking about being a demon lord and stuff, and that's like, that's like all you get from him. He's just, I'm not caught up. But Kaido can't be worse than Acnologia's. Acnologia's was rushed, I will agree. But Acnologia, I think, here's the thing. Acnologias did two things. Well, one and a half, because like one is from the anime. Acnologias preserved his hype, because Acnologia didn't lose in an outright fight. Acnologia lost because they exploited his weakness, and they beat him through being smart and trying to win as a large-scale team, and not just 1v1ing him. So that was one thing that was always, to me, a huge plus. Like, I wish I was doing reviews back then, because like that's something that I felt ever since that, regardless of whatever's going on, because I didn't know if, like, well, would we get a sequel or any form of continuation? Will we get more in the anime? But I was always happy that, despite everything, his hype was preserved, because he didn't lose in a way that made him look weak. He lost in characters exploiting something that dramatically weakens him and cripples him. And then in the anime, we got a lot of stuff that improved his character dramatically, because for a while, Acnologia was just that rampaging monster, and then we got, like, actual backstory and stuff kind of like being snuck in near the end, and then it was like kind of weird because we barely got any information on it, and then we ended up actually getting in the anime. And I think the anime, like, when we didn't have a ton, which is one of the things I really like, because it took the stuff that we knew and it inserted Acnologia's story and information into those parts, and we were able to connect all the dots and form his backstory with other events through what we were given. And I think that's what should have happened with Kaido. Maybe that'll be an anime thing. It's like Oda's been like trying to really like use the anime more for boosting stuff up, which is fine. But like that's just my thought on it. I think Kaido's was really weird because, unlike Mishima, I think Mishima was definitely rushing near the second half of Alvarez. I think there's a lot of pick up the pace stuff going on. You don't have that in One Piece. Like, he didn't need to do that. He could have, like... I mean, he really did, because it's like, how long was Kaido fighting for? How long has Kaido been, like, actually out in the open? And it's like his ending was just really abrupt and weird. And usually when big characters have that kind of, like, weird ending, like another one, Yuhabak, like another like big guy like that, it's always in, like, areas and times where it feels like something's happening behind the scenes you don't know. But we know that's not the case for Oda. I mean, maybe it's like Oda's health, but it's like Oda can take his time whenever, like, any way he wants, and nobody's going to complain. Nobody's going to get mad that's like, oh, halfway into the backstory, he took a week off for his health or whatever. Maybe he wanted to plan something out. Nobody's going to get upset about that. It just feels like, I guess it's a little different, because like, if there's something behind the scenes we don't know about that makes it so, like, something gets rushed up, versus, like, I just want to let the anime do it. I think that might maybe leave a little bit of a sour taste in people's mouth. I still think... Personally, I liked Acnologia's more because it didn't feel like intentionally abrupt, I think is the better way to say it. Like, you could tell there was definitely a pacing thing, but it was in a way that looked at it and said, like, I can preserve a degree of this. Because, like, if Acnologia lost in a 1v1, similar to, like, how Kaido lost, we couldn't have had the Dragon Gods unless the Dragon Gods were all 10 times Acnologia or something. Because it's like, if Natsu is able to do anything to Acnologia at full power on his own, what's stopping, like, the main cast, like, as a group from not just doing the same thing? Ario's supposed to be the next in line to become headmaster. He was one of the few saved by Father's time stop. Besides, his character is built up super strong. Like, I recognize his face. But it's like, I was, like, reading the chapter, and I kept scrolling back and forth, trying to figure out, like, have I seen this guy do stuff before? Like, am I forgetting something about the story? Because like, they even mentioned that he was, like, one of the best sorcerers in the world, the best wizards. And I was like, okay, this guy's got some hype. And I was just trying to figure out, like, is there something I should know about with this guy? And I just couldn't remember. Even if there's multiple endings, like a JRPG, yeah, that's one of the things I think is really neat about it. Most Mishima series are based off RPGs to some degree. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in Fairy Tail that you can see comes from Monster Hunter, like a lot of early stuff, like stuff especially with the cats. How Makarov looked initially very similar to like the Monster Hunter Guildmaster. Have you seen Kenobi series? No, I don't have Disney Plus. I haven't like watched anything with Star Wars in years. Like Disney really rode my love for Star Wars into the ground with the new trilogy. Kaido much better than Acnologia. I don't agree. I think Kaido... My issues with Kaido overall, I give him one as the same baseline criticism that I gave to Lucifaro. And it's not that... I gotta give some context. Like, I don't think a bad guy has to kill people. I don't think they have to just be killing people to gain value. But I think that if you constantly talk about killing and death and finishing off your opponents and all these things, and you never do it, like in the actual like line of it's like flashbacks. I mean, manga will kill a million people in a flashback before they even think about killing one in the main story. But it's like when you have that much of him going over it over and over and over, and then like his whole crew is pretty dysfunctional. They're not as bad as the Big Bomb Pirates. They're way more kind of set. Like King is at least competent and able to do stuff. But it's like he's got like this kind of like a big mess of things going on, and there's like a lot of questions and holes in his whole full scale layout. Like, what is he? Is he even like actually human? Like, we don't really know. He's got the horns. Is he actually an ogre or some other species like he said? Like, what exactly is the full? I know he's not like actually saying like I'm an ogre. He's not Shrek, but I remember there's the part where he talks to Yamato about being like the child of an ogre, and it's like, is he just kind of like comparing things, or is he serious? There's stuff with Kaido that I'm just kind of on, and it's like we don't have a lot of the stuff that I kind of would really hope for him. Like, you know, like we just kind of have like the weird cliff notes of his story. Kaido refusing to dodge Rajaz. I don't agree on that one. I think that makes sense. I don't think he would want to dodge. I think it would have been weird if he decided to randomly dodge Luffy's attack. I don't personally think he could have really dodged. Like, Luffy's fist was huge. I mean, the Dark Stars are being recurring threats like the League of Villains. I mean, they're doing pretty good. I mean, right now we just gotta figure out what's up with Wizard. I haven't seen Kaido, and I already know it's true. Eknology was legit one-shot. I mean, there's no real way for them to have beaten him other than pretty much exploiting the weakness and doing that. Because, like, he was just too strong. He was way too powerful. The one thing I will say, like, you gotta keep this in mind. It wasn't built to be a 1v1 fight. Ignia is that. Ignia is to Natsu what Kaido is to Luffy. That is more of a set. Acnologia was a world threat. Acnologia is for something that everybody should have been concerned about and everybody should have been getting involved in. It wasn't just a Natsu thing. So there's definite different context between the two and how their general setup. Kaido's like, I don't know, Kaido's was just like abrupt, but it wasn't like Oda wanted to finish it. It's just like this is Oda's plan. And it's, to me, it's like, it's kind of like how Muzan was at the end. Like, I get what he was doing, but I'm not a big fan of it. Acnologia was beaten by the power of friendship. No, he wasn't. Acnologia was beaten because they were smart and they utilized the Dragon Slayer crippling weakness to motion sickness. They didn't say anything about friendship when he fell over. Like, that wasn't even really in the whole last bit. Like they wouldn't have even, or Natsu rather, wouldn't have even been able to do any of that without Wendy. Like, Wendy and Lucy were the most clutch in that whole scenario. Wendy's the one that enchanted all that magic into Natsu, and Lucy's the one that was able to hold him in place and cripple him. Why didn't All For One die when All Might beat him instead of just put him in jail? Plot. Like, why didn't I would have just walked up and just been like, let's finish this guy off. We're not locking him up. And it's like the only character I kind of understand, like, the no killing thing, and I'm fine with it, is Batman. Like, Batman to me is like that line of understanding why he doesn't kill, and he does have like his own issue with personally with like killing and guns. So it's like, I'm all right with it. Not entirely. Like, there are some characters like when it's way more core to like their story, like Static Shock. Static, like my boy Virgil, like he does not like guns. He does not like guns at all, and it's not like a MacGyver. Actually, I don't really know why MacGyver doesn't like guns, but he didn't like guns. He doesn't like anything that obviously is directly associating with like what happened to his mom and stuff. So like him not wanting to ever like, you know, shoot somebody or kill somebody the same way would make sense to me. Whereas like, you know, for me, if I saw like Kaido or All For One or any of those dudes on the ground, then it's like a perfect opportunity to kill them. I'm gonna do it. Like, don't let those guys live. Don't even bother. It's called the Spirit World. I knew it was like something like that, just kind of like straightforward. Hopefully Black Clover doesn't pull a Bleach and nerf Lucius in the final battle. That's why I don't want the clock theory. I don't like the clock theory. The clock theory, one, I don't want all their accomplishments to be because of Lucius. I think that is that'll be such an upsetting reveal if all that stuff was only because he was able to cheat for him. I'm not a fan of that. And two, if they make him too powerful, where he can casually like reverse time, whether he's fully reversing time or say he's only reversing time in an area, and he has future sight, it's gonna be really hard for characters to ever beat him. Like if he has a weird kind of like half version of time manipulation, kind of like how he can manipulate time for people, but not like time itself, like actual full scale time. If he was doing that, much more understandable. Like I could see something like that, but the problem is if he just has outright time manipulation, like he can stop and reverse time itself, and he can see in the future, I don't see how any of them could beat him. I don't see anybody in the verse beating him. Like you would have to do some anti-magic MacGuffin where like time stops and frickin' the Demon Destroyers activates, which would be really weird because one, if he's stopping time itself, you would have to like dispel it on time itself, and it's like there's no target for that. There's nothing to hit. But also like how would Asta I can only even really see that it would be like it only works for like the people around him. I don't know. I don't like that. Like if it gets too much, because one thing I really really am hoping Tabata doesn't have as much of in the last arc. I think we personally had overall less of it in this arc. Really thinking about it, in the whole Spade arc, is anti-magic being the catch-all solution. Look, I think we had it way more early on in the Elf arc than we did in the Spade arc, and we'd have to go over some numbers to get there. But I think it'd be a better idea to have that, like, obviously more of as a solution, but I'm not a huge fan of when Tabata writes up new problems where it's like anti-magic is the only solution. I don't want more of that, because we're at a point now where I think we get it, and we understand enough that we don't need it to be as constant. Like, we got it. And one thing we need, two things we need, rather. We need characters who aren't relying on magic. They can use magic, but it's not their end-all. And two, we need characters more like Megicula, and more like characters who see anti-magic problem. We don't need more of Lucifaro or any of the other characters who see anti-magic and be like, whatever, I'll take care of this guy. Not going to be an issue. I'm sure I'll be fine. And then, a couple chapters later, my magic, what do I do? Why are all my spells getting canceled? We don't need more of that. We do not need more of that. If Lucifaro didn't have that in his personality, I would be much more inclined to like him. But it's one of the things I didn't like about the twins, and I don't like seeing it this far in, is like characters shouldn't be seeing stuff that outright cancels and nulls magic and then being like, whatever. Like they should 100% be like, the fuck is that? What the shit was that? What is that? They should be pointing at it and saying, I need to worry about that. I shouldn't be, who cares how strong these people are? That's a problem. That directly is a problem. We need to worry about that. Jin Clean Laguna got jump in Dead End Crow's mouth and poop inside. Did they? I didn't see that. I'll have to look at that. Jalal versus Gildarts versus Laxus would win. I'd go with Gildarts. You think Lucy is going to be involved in the fight with Dogramag? No. The most I can see is like Dragon Dogramag, everybody in the fight, Lucy's for the most part being a back, in the back caster. Like that is a scenario where Lucy has to be a caster more than any other more than like any other situation she's ever been. I said, Lucy, listen, I know you have ways of being a combat wizard now. You've got some moves. I'm proud of you. I'm very happy with your progress. But this is not the time for that. Get in the back. Like, go in the back, cast spells. Do not get in the front line or you're going to die. Like, we need durable people only. Like, Lucy is the only one there, to a degree, great, that doesn't have, like, just a very, very durable body. Everybody else there has Dragon Slayer durability. It grades a little bit off because this is a weird case. But the Dragon Slayer durability has been constant, consistent the entire series. Lucy doesn't have that. She needs to stand in the back. Listen, we understand. You're doing great. But do not fucking cross that line. We're going to put a line in the ground. Cast spells from there. Do support stuff. Do not get in the front. And actually, I'd probably like, Wendy, stand right between them. Do not let her get past you. You stand there, do your stuff. Don't let Lucy pass that line. Do you think Dogramag is going to win? I mean, I don't think Dogramag's going to win. I mean, here's the thing. Dogramag is the weakest dragon god. He has numbers dramatically against him. Oh, hold on. Let me get back to some of these comments. I lost my train of thought, so it's just like I might as well just get back to reading stuff. Luffy Luffy's like, I think Luffy generously right now is like low multi-continental. I think that's pretty fair from where he was, because like I've been having him at like continental going into the fight with, once he started matching attacks from Kaido. That to me is like, okay, he's around that area. I think putting him around that like low multi is pretty fair right now. He's got some good feats for it too, like having the whole like cracked part of Wano, and then like the causing the volcano nearby to erupt was pretty good. But he's not that strong. One Piece characters just aren't that powerful. What about Sukuna as a villain compared to All For One? I mean, Sukuna has more of that. Like, we see more of Sukuna. Like, the parts when we see Sukuna, like him scheming, having cool bad guy interactions. You know, anytime he's like talking to Yuji, he's got some back burner plan going on. That is what All For One should have had, but we don't have him because like he got introduced, immediately arrested, and then we just kept seeing like this testicle in a fucking wheelchair for a while, got out, and then it's what? Every once in a while he makes an aggressive gesture at Deku or something. It's just like, he's just boring. Akinogi was beat with one shot. I don't think he's trash. I mean, he got beaten in a logical way. A character losing because other people exploit like something that is built up as a drawback, I think is fine. Like if they beat Kaido by like obviously it was a different scenario because like Luffy wanted to beat him 1v1. But like I guess you say like Big Mom 2 or whatever, but it's like if you beat them by strategizing, getting them in a spot where you had, say, like, you know, you lured them into some form of trap and then use the sea or whatever pretty much to ultimately beat them, because we know that's the crippling weakness of Devil Fruit users. I think that's fine. Anything that's like a built-in known issue, the characters taking that into account and using that against them is smart. And it's like, yeah, I mean, Akinogi is powerful, but it's like he can't get away from like a built-in weakness. That's just something that he couldn't really plan on. Well, not planned on. Rather he couldn't have really worked around. Because like, well, it's the only thing if he became a 5th gen, but we know he hated dragons, so I don't know if he's really going to eat them. Makes you wonder what he ate the whole time. I guess he could eat normal animals. But if you Monster Hunter games, I can definitely see Fairy Tail is inspired from Monster Hunter. There's lots of stuff in there like that. Lizana is in the past, Lucy's the future. Oh, 100%. We don't have time for Lizana here. Muzan dropped more bodies and kind of lose far. Yeah, but Muzan I think was worse. I think Muzan is... Here's the thing. Muzan had so many opportunities just to leave, and then he's like, I'm just going to mess around, fight you guys for a while. And then, like, after a while, he's like, oh shit, they're stalling. And then he got to a point where he just pretty much got held out. Like, they like, ultimately, he was just trying to leave town, and all these dudes just kept jumping him, and it was like, Wano is the worst arc in One Piece? I don't know about that. I think Fishman Island is worse. Lucy and Wendy are MVPs against Akinogi. I mean, yeah, Wendy's like the MVP of the whole series, though. Akinogi was Iachi was a waste of time, but he was choing with them. We know that he was messing with them. Like that's known in his whole thing, is he messes with people because he can. Like that's a known character trait. We knew that also. We knew that all the way back on Sirius Island. Like Gildarts just said, like he's not even giving them as much like effort as he did with me. He's messing with them. He's toying with them. Like we've known that was a thing with him for a while. Oh, did I unplug my stand or something? I might have unplugged this. I'll get to it in a minute. Are my headphones even on? No, they're not. I've been talking with just off headphones this whole time. I guess I don't really need it. But still. We finna debate. Oh, you're talking about somebody else. I don't know. Kaido was not the final villain. Still hold the fight with Luffy. Whereas like Akinogi wasn't the final villain. So it's not even a real thing. Like Fairy Tail's still going. But the thing is, like I said, Akinogi, you could definitely see where Mishima had to pick up the pace. I think that he was rushing near the end, whereas this is how Oda like just wanted Kaido to end. Wano's much better than all Fairy Tail. I guess not true. Wano, for the most part, has been pretty Like it's been like the whole Beast are the Beast Pirates. I'm trying to think. I was gonna call them the Animal Kingdom Pirates, but it's like that's the official one. But that's such a lame name. They are like so lackluster. They don't have like they don't even have like a Katakuri or a Pero Sparrow or an Oven to kind of like have some cool people in their group. Like the closest is what? King and Ulti, but it's like King was so stale as a bad guy. I guess an antagonist, because it's not like he's evil. But he's just, I guess he kind of is, considering he's been supporting a tyrant for years. He was just boring. Like, he was, I'm here with Kaido. You're not going to get past. He just kind of like not even really angry. He seemed almost like a robot. It's just boring. Kaido was pissed when the CP0 got interfered, so imagine how pissed Ignia would be if someone interfered with his 1v1 with Natsu. Yeah, he'd kill him. He would just turn him to dust. Winnie and Lucy, or this one. I'm surprised Zeref during the war never went after Natsu's friends personally. Oh, he tried that with Makarov. Tried with Makarov, and then after that, he was just back to the game for him. Met Jin Clean and Laguna have to jump in his mouth and blow him up from the inside. Inside his armor's too strong. Since his armor's too strong. I mean, they need to go for weak points. They need to go for weak points. Like, find spots where maybe like where the flexibility is, and try and find some joints. Natsu's supposed to. I mean, yeah, like Natsu would run over. Natsu would run over One Piece. Like, it's not even close. Like, he would just completely body all of them. Natsu's planet there. Luffy's small. Luffy's higher in Small Island. Well, Natsu's at large planetary after the Suzaku feats. And Luffy's at, like, low multi-continental. Jalal's a laughable character. Jalal's amazing. Jalal is one of my favorite Mishima characters. Like, it's actually really wild to go all the way back and see, like, the different steps between where he got from the start to now. And you just see, like, this crazed cult, essentially a crazed cult leader, as he's, like, running over the government and stuff and just checkmating everybody. And then it's just, like, now he's just probably, like, thinking, like, holy shit, dude, I did some stuff. Like, because you just imagine being him and you're just, like, getting coffee one day. It's just like you're just a normal day and you're just, like, think back all the crazy shit you did and it's just like, man, how did I get pardoned? Like, he did a lot of stuff to, like, earn that pardon, but still, it's just he's probably like, holy shit, man, I did some things. As he spent years, like, going after dark guilds, but still. I just see people talking now. I mean, yeah, One Piece isn't that strong. Light novel. I don't know anything about Accelerator. I never really checked out the Index series. Drowned Cow and Saltwater, problem solved. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if something has a weak, it's like it'd be like beating Superman with Kryptonite. It's you didn't beat them in an outright, like, full scale battle, but you still beat them with tactics. You still beat them by exploiting something that they are weak to. That's still a win. And I would say the same thing for Acnologia, and not the same. I guess I was gonna say, like, sorta with Enel with the gold ball, but not really. That one's kinda, but I mean, like, you know what I mean. Like, anytime if a character's got, like, their powers have some big drawback, they are weak to X, Y, or Z. You use that against them. Obviously, like I said, it's not the biggest win, but it's still, I think it's still a fair victory. Because you won by knowledge and stuff you were able to figure out about them, rather than just, like, you don't throw a random rock and then it's like, oh, it's Kryptonite Superman. That's how it works. This you can cut at full power, has Gildarts. So Gildarts disassembles him and crushes like immediately. Gildart Speed Blitz. I mean, yeah, Gildarts would just run over him. Kaido's not that. Things like Kaido is, he has the physical strength to, like, compete to a degree, but he has, like, no real hacks and he has no way of dealing with Gildarts' hacks at all. Don't want to debate with a Luffy fanboy who thinks Idea Shock's trash. Idea Shock was bad. Idea Shock's whole setup was so embarrassingly bad in how he was going about his feats. Like, I don't understand still where he could come up with Luffy has better fire than Natsu. It's like, does Luffy even have feats of, like, melting steel? Like, Natsu's been doing it since, like, the beginning of the series. I don't think Luffy even has that. Swazup, do you want to join the stream? I'll invite you to Discord right now if you want to jump on. Do you actually want to jump on and debate this? I'll debate you right now. I will, I have you on Twitter. You stopped replying to my questions when we were asking about it. I remember you wanted to debate it, and then I just asked you some questions, and you never got back to it. So do you actually want to debate? I'll give you a second. Enel's way cooler than Kaido, even though he didn't have a backstory. He is based off Eminem. Sure, I'll give you it right in. You have my Twitter. Dude, you have my Twitter. I'll just give you a link to my Discord. I want to hear. I want to hear what feat. I did ask you a feat. Let me see the exact one. I'll pull it up. So you messaged me and I said it says, "Yo, when are we finna debate?" I said for Natsu versus Luffy. Are you cut with Fairy Tail? Because I need to know how much you actually know about Fairy Tail first. Idea Shot claims are really bad. Because I haven't seen any feats from One Piece that come close to current Natsu. And this was on the 18th. And then 2 days later I said so no, and you never responded. Here's a direct link to my Discord. We'll see. Hang on. Do I even have a voice channel? Let me add a voice channel. Voice channel. Yeah, it's been so long since I like messed with Discord. 1 second. Let's get this dude in here. I'm waiting. NBA swaz up never broke again. I don't know what that means. I sent you a link. I said Twitter so we can, like, it's easier to link up on Twitter than it is on Discord. Just click the link. Like, it's on Discord. It goes to Discord. Click the Discord thing. How about this? Swazup, what do you have? So what feat in all of One Piece do you have that comes close to Natsu burning time? Let's go into some hacks. Like, what does Luffy do against that? What's Luffy's plan against fire that burns concepts? Does he have anything? Like, Luffy just was, like, getting pushed back by Kaido's fire. And Kaido's fire is, like, what, a couple thousand degrees? Like, that's like Natsu's beginning. I sent you a link. You didn't join the Discord at all. Click the link I sent you on on Twitter. Here, I'll even post it here. And then anybody who also isn't, you guys can come join too. I don't do text, I do VC. Well, there's a thing you can do on Discord where you can call somebody. Joel appeared 1 chapter and disappeared 100 chapters after his character journey thing. I mean, what do you mean? What do you mean he appeared 1 chapter? Like, he was in multiple chapters. He didn't even have his arc until, what, like 100 plus? Not 100 plus. Like, what, like 80 or so chapters in? I'm gonna call this dude. Let's call him. There, I sent you the friend request. I want to hear Luffy's feats. I want to hear Luffy's best feats. No, it's burns times. I hope Shiki can affect time with gravity. I kind of want him to do something different. Like, I want him to maybe do space instead. Like, he uses gravity to mess with the... Like, instead of, like, directly pulling somebody with gravity, he pulls the space. So it's like maybe you wouldn't be able to, like, normally resist it the same way with physical strength. You'd be able to just, like, it would just be kind of like, you know, the space between you is what's pulling you. Plan. Pick up the call. Oh my god, he's got to get a mic. Hey, remember the Galactica is beating Kaido? I don't think so. I don't see any feats for it. Maybe Draken Joe, because Draken Joe has hacks. The Spring and 12 grinds, the Eden Zero crew, Black Clover, my to dust. I mean, yeah, it's too strong. Even Dragon Joe, this hacks would body Kaido. I think if he gets his hands on him, that's just a hacks thing. But that depends. Like, would there be anything like involved of like how hockey works? Okay, hello.
Yo.
So I need
one question.
Sure.
Are you doing that server?
What?
Are you down to doing that server?
Well, I mean, we're right here. What do you mean? Like, what's the difference?
Activity. I just want to bring activity a bit to it. So are you down to doing that server?
I do not want to join some random server to make shit posts. No thanks.
I got you.
So what feats what feats does Luffy have that even comes close to Natsu? And are you caught up with 100 Years Quest or no?
No. I don't watch Fairy Tail. I mean, I don't read Fairy Tail.
So you're arguing that Luffy's stronger with having no knowledge of Natsu's feats and never touching the series.
You don't have to have knowledge on something just to debate it.
You need the context, though.
I don't really care about context. You can.
So you don't.
Whoever spells higher.
So, but you need context on what's happening. How do you know the feats if you have no knowledge of the context?
Okay. Sorry. Are you referring to your side or on the
Either, like in general, like if you, how do you? So what is it? Idea Shock had stuff like saying, I'm hang on, I'm giving you an example. Idea Shock had saying things like Luffy's fire was hotter than Natsu's, with no looking into feats. But with context, you have Natsu's fire is hotter than a character in Fairy Tail named Wall Ito. Wall Ito shoots plasma from a nuclear fusion reactor that's 200 million degrees. What does Luffy have on that?
200 degrees.
200 million degrees. It's a nuclear fusion reactor.
I really ignored everything I'm about to say. Let's start.
I asked you a question. I asked you a question about. I asked. Are you gonna respond? I asked you about a feat. What does Luffy have on 200 million degree plasma? Because I said context is important. If somebody says he has hotter fire, zero context into it, zero looking into feats, and then you say you do not need context of the series, you're just going off of what some guy who doesn't know about the series tells you. When you actually look into context, where...
Okay, you're completely compromising dialectics. Are we going to debate or discuss?
I asked you a simple question first. Like, I want...
Answer my question.
I asked you the question first. I asked you the question first.
That doesn't make sense, because I first you asked me the question, what feats does Luffy have to contend with Luffy?
But we're talking about the context. If the context doesn't matter, and I give you if the context doesn't matter, and I give you strictly a level of a question that has to do with something that was said, where if you looked into the context, it's super important. What does that do?
You can go into the server and get it judged. You're acting.
So
I'm trying to say that, but you're acting like dumb.
If your only thing is to avoid questions and then want me to get into a server with you and your 30 friends, I'm not gonna do it.
Do you wanna have a formal debate where we reach the conclusion of our dialect? Yes or no?
I'm trying to have a conversation right now, but if you want, you're not doing that. You're avoiding what I'm saying, and you're trying to get me to go. You're trying to get me to go into a Discord server with all of your friends who are gonna jump on me with like 30 people trying to talk to me. I know how this works. I've dealt with this before. I know how it works. This is a server with you and all your friends.
You know how it works. Shut up, bro.
Are you gonna be a bitch and keep continuing, or are you gonna answer the question?
I'm asking you a question. You shotgun these questions. Are we gonna debate formally, or are we gonna?
But I asked you initially a question about context, and you said context doesn't matter, and you ignored the feats. If I tell you the context, and you have zero response. Here's the thing. You could have literally given me a thing. What does anybody in One Piece have on 200 million degree plasma? What does anybody in One Piece have on 200 million degree plasma? Ask the question. You have One Piece who Kaido's losing to lava that humans in Fairy Tail can walk through, and you're gonna try and tell me their verse is stronger?
If you dodge my question again, you're compromising dialect.
Sure, see ya. Holy shit. Also, he's Kai, there's a dude in the chat, his name is Swazup. And at one point he just said he has never read or touched Fairy Tail, and context doesn't matter. Could you imagine somebody completely ignoring the existence of everything in a verse and then going with, well, I don't need to know anything about it. I don't need to know anything about what I'm talking about. Like, are you serious? Here's the thing. Kaido is now losing to lava. Arcadius walked in lava. You have Natsu, who's been melting steel since the beginning of the series, who at one point literally had molten steel in his mouth. You know what's hotter than lava? Molten steel. Like, I said, let's debate. Yeah, but you ignored everything I asked. You ignored the very first thing. And what was the first thing? You haven't read Fairy Tail. So if a guy who hasn't read a series and tells me context doesn't matter, and then is going to completely go over the first question, I'm not going to really continue. What's the point? Like this is the whole thing with like calc people. Do you have we'll have one verse that gets calcs. It's not even the same thing because it's like what Fairy Tail has even better calcs than One Piece does. Like it's not even remotely close. But like it's crazy. Here, I'll give him one more shot. I'll be really nice. Are you gonna? I'm gonna give you one more shot. Are you gonna address what I asked? Are you gonna address what I asked before we go anything? Before we get any further, are you gonna address what I asked?
Wait, hold on.
I will. Hang on. I'm not. I'm gonna tell you this right now. I'm gonna tell you this right now. I'm not. No, I'm gonna tell you this right now. I'm not gonna answer anything you say until you answer this question. No matter what question you ask, I'm not going. I'm gonna leave if you don't. Okay. I'm just not gonna. I'm not gonna do it. I told him I'd give him one more question. Schwazlup or whatever the fuck your name is. I think you're really annoying, and like the over talking style is, I don't know, it's super high school. But I'll tell you this: I will not further debate you until you can answer the question. If you can tell me what One Piece as a whole has on 200 million degree nuclear plasma, I will continue debating with you. If you cannot, I'm not going to. And that's as simple as that. I'm not going to humor some guy who hasn't read the series, hasn't touched it, outright says that he doesn't care about context. Like, that's ridiculous. You don't care about context? But it's like, oh, who scales higher? How do you know who scales higher if you don't know about the context? If you don't know the context of the feat, and you have something like Idea Shock saying Natsu's best feat in base is one-shotting Ikusa Tsunagi, and then not even looking at the feats where Ikusa Tsunagi would be at or scale to. Listen, I'm going to tell you this right now. I don't want to time him out or kick him out. Like, I want to give him at least the opportunity to answer my question. What does Luffy or anybody in One Piece have on 200 million degree nuclear plasma? Like, it's disgustingly beyond anything. You are in the comments. You are in the voice chat. Not in the voice chat, sorry. You are in the stream chat. You can hear me right now. I will pick up the call if you answer in the chat. What does anybody in One Piece have on that? What does anybody in One Piece have on that? Like, you have stuff like Natsu bodying Kronos, the god of time. You have stuff like Natsu burning concepts. You have him shrugging off attacks that bodied human Selene. Y'all hella fans? Why are you ignoring the same thing that they're saying? They just want you to answer the question. It's a yes or no question. Well, I guess technically you can say yes or no, but I mean, you could answer with feats. What does One Piece, everybody in One Piece, I do VC explain, you're going to try and do a bunch of multipliers. You're going to somehow say, well, Ace had fire that burnt wood, so that goes to this degree. Luffy is X times stronger, so his fire would be X times hotter, which isn't how fire works, considering fire does not operate like that. If he, like I said, if he's willing to give me an answer on that, you have Kaido who's losing to lava, and you have Natsu fine with molten steel on his body? Like, it's not even close. I love One Piece, but they get foddered by Natsu and compare their feats. Like, I would love to just talk to this random guy. Like, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't mind debating him. But the thing is, I'm not willing to spend my time towards somebody who, one, hasn't read Fairy Tail at all, and two, is not going to answer the question. Because I know how people like this work. He wants me to go to a server where all of his friends are. And at that point, they're all going to ask me 30 questions. Every single one is going to be in the same topic, but they're all going to be different questions. And when you don't answer one of them, they're going to say you're ducking. And you have to then debate this guy's whole crew all at the same time. I've seen this before. I've dealt with it before. It's annoying. I don't really like the yelling debate tactic anymore. I think it goes nowhere, and it's pretty stupid. My last two channel debates with Faith and Broku, it's more of a conversation, like a back and forth. You bring up feats, and it's like, you can agree with them. If you don't agree with them, you debate it. You can either try and prove the feats, or they're going to debunk your feat, and then you move on. I think that's way more of a productive and structured setup. But I'm not going to waste my time on somebody who doesn't touch Fairy Tail and doesn't know anything about it. No. Like, that's just me wasting time, and I don't care about that. I think that's stupid. And it's like, he's like, I'm going to go get a judge. Cool, you're going to get your friend to be a judge. I'm sure that's going to be fair. Leona's better. That's true. I didn't even think about that. Mary Leona's like bathing in lava casually, and it's like Kaido. Oh, shock schlop. This dude wants to debate me, but he won't answer any like basic questions. It's not going anywhere, but you won't answer the question. Schwaz up right now. Is there a feat in One Piece that is above 200 million degree plasma? You're not gonna try and tell me Kaido, who's now stuck in lava, and lava which crushed part. I guess it's like a power level thing you could say to a degree, but Oda did say that. Like, what is? I'm trying to remember. Magu, is it Magu? The magma fruit. That's like the highest potency, I think, attack power devil fruit. Not like it was. I think it was the Guragur as the largest scale, but the Magu fruit is like the highest potency. I think. I can't quote that because I don't remember. Natsu has better feats, a statement skill above. Natsu has way better feats. Natsu has better statements. Like, Natsu has everything. Okay, if you answer, I will give you this. Okay, I'm gonna give you this one more shot. I'm telling you, I'm a generous guy. I'm gonna jump in one more time. Okay, I want you to tell me what you, and before you answer, just like I said, Kaido is losing to lava. Odin lost to boiling oil. What does One Piece have on 200 million degree plasma? And also, this is base Natsu. I didn't even mention that. This is base Natsu where he's at.
Alright, just listen to this. If I answer your question, will you answer my questions?
We'll go question for question.
Okay, I'm done with that. Alright, okay, so what's your question again?
What feat in all of One Piece comes close to 200 million degree nuclear plasma?
Well, there are multiple planetary feats, and really that.
That's not what I asked. This is a heat feat. This is a heat feat.
Sorry,
this has to do with heat.
Nothing comes. Yeah. Sorry. If Ace scales to star, so definitely.
What? No, he doesn't.
Fire would be hotter.
What? Where are you getting? Wait, Anna. Okay, I'll save that to my next one. I'll save it to my next one because that's a question. You can go.
All right. Thank you. At least you can do. Are we gonna debate or discuss?
I mean, this is just a back and forth. I don't really do the weird high school debates anymore. I think they're stupid. They go nowhere.
All right, wait. Okay, answer your question.
Yeah, you answer my question. I guess that is a question. Okay, so where does star level Ace come from?
All right, so do I? Okay, so
I don't want calc. Just say the feat. Like, I probably know of the calc, but I either know it or know how they probably got to it. I just want to know what feat.
You definitely would. It's not really a feat. It comes from multiplier and a specific feat. You know how Whitebeard has the 300 Hawkeye multiplier, which you can calc based off the
what 300
Snake Man tribe arc. That feat. That
what?
And then
where are you? 300? Is that a number or is that just made up?
Oh no, it's calc. Made up.
So is this calc stacking? You know, calc stacking is a banned process because this sounds like calc stacking.
It's not a banned process.
It is no. Hang on, I gotta have to interject. I've been studying. I have. Well, this isn't a question. I just have to tell you. I have been doing this for a long time. I was doing this before Versus Battle Wiki was a thing. I remember I was on it when it was Outskirts Battle Dumb Wiki. Calc stacking is a banned process. That is not a legit process. That's how they got Mach 500. That's how you get like Mach 500 Bleach characters when Mach 2 was like the general at the time. Calc stacking is a. I'm just telling you, calc stack. If you want, I'm just telling you, if you do calc stacking with Fairy Tail, I can make every character multiversal. I'm just telling you that right now. I'm telling you, if you do calc stacking, you can do. I can double standard it.
Okay, listen. Do you know how calc stacking works, right?
Yes, you're using a calc to calc off another feat, which is
exactly.
by
That's
its.
not at all how a multiplier would work.
Yeah, because you're getting the multiplier from the calc, but then you're taking that multiplier that you got from a calc and then later applying it to something else, which at that point is calc stacking.
That's not calc stacking.
Yes, it is. That's calc stacking. That's what it's called. You're taking a calculation to build off. You're taking a calculation to build off another calculation. That's calc stacking. That's the baseline definition of calc stacking.
That's not calc stacking. Let me talk.
Yes, it is. But go ahead.
Okay, so by what you're saying, by you, I'll give you an analogy. Is it calc stacking if I apply 300? If I get a 300 multiplier from a calc, then I apply it to a speed feat. I apply it to the speed of a person, so I can multiply their speed, so I can get a higher value. Is that calc stacking?
If you use a calc to build off another calc, that is calc stacking in any way.
What the hell?
Yes. It's this. You're literally. That's where the whole term came. You're stacking a calc on top of another calc. That's also one of the reasons I don't do calcs anymore.
I don't know what calc stacking is.
Yes, it is.
I
I have.
have hyperliteral, and that's not okay.
I've been doing this for over 10 years. I know how this works. I know how this.
No, you don't know what it is.
I've been doing this longer than you've been reading manga, my guy.
You've been doing this longer, yet you're retarded. You don't know anything about it.
I mean, this is the same. This is the same guy who's got star level ace. This the same verse where Kaido is losing to lava and Kaido loses to, or Odin loses to boiling oil, and you have what Ace who died to lava too. Like Ace lost to lava, but he's star level. He's star level, but he lost to lava. Like a.
You don't understand. Okay, actually,
So here's this right now though. You're only able to get to anything by stacking a bunch of calcs together, by taking a bunch of fan-made calcs and piling them up. Here's the thing. You can only get to where you're claiming by taking a bunch of fan-made calculations and putting them together and then jumping off of each one to get to another. You know where Ace is without a bunch of calcs that say he's star level? The dude at best was like small island level. He's got consistent feats that put him at small island level. We just had Luffy's biggest attack. Where Wano isn't destroyed. Where's the planet? Oh, the planet's right there. What planet feats are there? You want planet feats from Fairy Tail? I can pull them out. And here's some more. You've got like Natsu bodying gods and burning concepts, where it's like Luffy's struggling with sharp wind and blast breath.
All right, I'll say this for you. I know that. Okay, so I know this person who's in chat. His name is Shockplot. Even Shockplot knows this. This is like AP and DC are not the same thing.
I know what DC and AP are, but the thing is to get attack potency. But the thing to get attack potency is you need existing feats to build into attack potency. If you just you need existent things. If you just say AP every time, you completely void out outliers. And that is why when you have a verse where characters have nothing remotely close to star level to any degree, there's not a shred of feats in One Piece even at planetary, but you're gonna try and tell me Ace is star level?
I can prove with statements, feats, and calcs. You're not getting this.
Show me a feat. Show me a feat. Show me an actual feat. What star has Ace destroyed?
Okay, you're not understanding.
What star has anybody in One Piece destroyed? If the highest feat in the verse caps out long before where you're trying to say AP is, and there's 0 feats to support AP, that is called an outlier.
There are multiple planetary feats in the verse.
Show me a planetary feat. Whitebeard shaking some islands is not planetary.
You can count them. There are multiple feats where you can count them to planetary. So
here's the thing, the biggest feat is the Whitebeard feat, and I've actually looked at the calc. I know about the calc. I've known about it for a long time. The feat itself is completely flawed because they use a natural earthquake calculator to figure out how it works, which means the resistance that the force would travel and the whole setup and formula of how the calculator works with all that resistance of how the different parts of the planet and the tectonic plates and everything that would push back against the power that goes through it, that power would still have to work through so the end result is still at that level, does not have the same level of travel because Whitebeards are through the air. That does not have the same resistance. It doesn't have the same lag or drawback that it's got to go through. It's traveling with far less resistance, so it's losing way less power as it travels. It should, at 0 point, be treated the same way as a natural earthquake because its origin and its travel path do not work that way. Do you know how these calcs work, or you just read a calc and just say, well, it must be true? So you don't know how calcs work, is what you just said no.
Okay, how are these not earthquakes? Sorry, you already answered that. You're saying because we're using a natural calculator, yes or no? You're saying that, right? That we can't.
Let me tell you why they're not earthquakes. Because they don't originate and travel through the earth the same way. The reason earthquakes are so powerful is because these two massive amounts of mass collide into each other. Then the force between them has to travel through both respective bodies. You don't have that from Whitebeard. They originate from him. All that travel distance and all that force lost is not there. No, he's directly creating the quakes.
Is it okay? hypothetically you were right, right?
Do you know the different?
If you're
Oh,
hypothetically right. Listen, if you're hypothetically right, it's still him causing it. So it wouldn't change anything in the feed.
yes, it would. It would,
How?
because the calculator takes into account everything that the force from the earthquake travels through, the distance, the resistance, all the mass that the force is going to then pass through. Force loses energy as it goes through distance and resistance. Whitebeard doesn't have those things because they form directly from him. They don't have all the distance from the earth, and they don't have all the resistance from the mass that it has to travel through. It's going to be losing way less power. If you have something, say you take a meteor, if you have a meteor, you take two meteors, the same size, one has to travel all the way through the atmosphere, so it breaks up, and then one doesn't at all, because it comes from a much closer point. Do you understand how the calculation works? Like, do you know how force works and travels?
For the argument is an appeal to reality. That's a fallacy.
Do you actually do any of these calcs, or do you just read them?
No, I do these calcs. I can do these calcs.
So do you understand that you can't treat something that doesn't function the same way? You can't treat his shock waves the same as earthquakes in a calculator. You can treat how you can treat how the force travels and how it interacts with other things, but you cannot give it the same level of resistance and the same variables that it has to go through if it doesn't go through them. That's not how that works.
And scaling, you don't understand scaling at all.
Have I do. I know how all this works. You don't.
You don't understand AP or DC. You don't understand.
I do know them, and that's why I know you can't have. No, you can. Do you know what a feat drastically above? No, here's the thing. Do you know what a feat drastically above everything else consistent in the series is? It's called an outlier. It is called an outlier. That's why you don't have character anybody. You have nobody in One Piece even remotely close doing that, because if consistency does not point towards them, it is an outlier. Is there more consistent star level feats in One Piece, or are there more consistent island level feats? Well, he muted himself. It's consistent with nothing. It would be like taking the Ultier statement where Ultier says that she's manipulating universes and taking that at straightforward value, which is ridiculous. I might just have to use that one, because that's like my go-to for characters who just don't understand how statements work.
The whole time you haven't let me speak once. I'm gonna ask a question.
Go ahead.
How does Natsu scale up to Luffy's speed when Luffy's MFTL plus?
Natsu at base is massively faster than that. He scales above Galaxia. I'll show you Galaxia Blade. It covers 2,400 light years in a couple seconds. Here.
Oh, also I'm gonna.
And this is base Natsu, and this is somebody fodder to him.
Due to equal interpretation, your concept Natsu burning concept would just be like him having time resistance to time.
No, that's burning a concept. What do you mean? He has natural stuff built in, but burning a that's no fire can't. No, here's fire.
Everything is a concept. Actually that sounds retarded. Not everything is a concept.
Do you know how fire affects time?
How does fire affect time?
Once you reach Planck temperature, similar to how absolute zero with full cold can affect time, Planck temperature gets to the point where the laws of physics stop working, and it can affect time.
Alright. That's just an appeal to reality. That's dumb.
It's a fictional series with fictional powers. I could say the exact same thing about anything in One Piece. That doesn't appeal to reality.
I think that's false, because we have to establish a logical base.
The logical base is Zeref, the guy manipulating time to the point he could reset timelines, says he's burning time after he's saying he's using time itself. Dude, I mean, like, again, this is what I was saying. You haven't read the series, you don't know anything about the series, so you don't know any of the context. He beat a god who became capable to the point of resetting timelines. What does Luffy have on that?
Oh my god. Anime isn't canon.
What?
Primary canon.
That's in the manga. That's in the Fairy Tail manga. I can give you panels right now.
Show me in the manga.
Which part do you want? Natsu burning time, or do you want Zeref resetting timelines?
No, I'm talking about the clip you just sent me. Also, resetting timelines just applies to time manipulation.
But yeah, with actual time, there's a difference between magic time and actual time itself. If you are manipulating the time, if you are manipulating the concept itself, and I can give you the panels where they directly say it's a concept. Do you want it where it directly says it's a concept? Do you need to actually know the context now because context is important?
It doesn't matter that it's in a concept. Physics is a concept. Like, doesn't matter in any way. When you say he's burning a concept, how does that affect anything?
What do you mean? Like, it's a hacks, or it's conceptual eraser. It's a type of hacks. Yes, it is. It's a conceptual type of destruction. You are destroying a concept.
Listen. I want you to listen here, please. You know how if you know how dimensionality works, right? Conceptual manipulation only applies when you're actually manipulating a concept, not some four-dimensional form of time. Also, it can also just only apply to platonic concepts.
Should I get you the panels where he says time itself, like actual time itself, with full context of the story where it says time itself?
I want you to listen to this. Why would that be interpreted as all of time out of dimensionality?
He just got to the point where he could undo entire timelines. So yes, it's a power. It was a power literally where he was.
Okay, listen. That doesn't scale.
It does. Because it does, because he also at the same time he had infinite energy, so he burnt something infinite.
Okay, now I understand the problem. Now I understand why you can't comprehend any of this. Okay.
I can't comprehend the series that you haven't read and don't know any context for. Listen, the series where or what now? What are you gonna tell? Like, what is it gonna happen now? You're gonna have Luffy who's losing to Kaido's attacks, but you still haven't said like anything. Like. If he's already getting burnt by Kaido, he's gonna die from base Natsu's 200 million degree fire. Like, he's done.
Okay. I want you to listen here. I'm gonna explain this for you.
Go ahead.
Okay. So if you have infinite AP, that makes you universal, right? High universal.
This is a multiverse. He was gonna do all timelines.
What?
Do you know how? Again, you clearly like if you actually knew anything about Fairy Tail, like you would be able to actually like look at this without being surprised every 5 minutes, because not every verse is as weak as One Piece.
Okay, listen. All timelines, right? Can just be all timelines is one-dimensional because it's a linear. Is it not?
Well, no, time isn't linear.
How is okay? Sorry, I'm saying a timeline is linear.
I mean, a timeline still branches out. Like, it's technically not linear. Like, time is never really linear. That's
okay. Does this branch out as defined time or transcends time, or is this still linear?
If you go by the actual original Japanese kanji, he says he has transcended time itself.
Time itself refers to.
Like, what is Luffy gonna do with that? Like, Luffy's like dodging wind blades, and you have him against like Natsu bodied a god of time with infinite energy, and Luffy can just punch. Luffy doesn't scale higher. Luffy doesn't scale higher. Okay, sure. What does Luffy have over Ultier shrinking universes? What does he have near Ultier shrinking universes?
Shrinking universes isn't a feat.
Creating shrinking parallel universes is a feat. Yes, it is.
Okay, yeah, sorry, it's a feat. All you're doing is manipulating the size. That somehow is.
If you are able to manipulate that much mass, like you are at that point multiverse. If you are casually manipulating multiverse levels of mass, then yes, you are multiversal.
Okay, a universe is not. Okay.
Like, what does Luffy do? Luffy wouldn't even get past Wendy at this point. Like, it's not even close.
You're just dumb. You're not getting this.
No, it's like you so far have ignored all of Natsu's feats, and the only thing you can provide for Luffy is with fan-made calcs. Like fan fiction. Like, that's the only thing that you have.
Fan fiction calc.
But if you go by fairy tale calcs are higher.
What? Okay. Calcs are objective. And using fan-made fiction, that makes literally no sense. That's like
are they something created by fans that are made entirely by their own interpretation and not by the mangaka themselves?
They're not made, they're calced.
So they are made. They make them. Like, they form them. They are created. You make the whole process. You make the formula. You make the numbers and the calculations. That is exactly creating it. You act like they don't sit down and then just think and it forms into reality. That's not how that works.
I'll give you an analogy. Listen.
Go ahead.
If I calc how much energy or how much kinetic energy an apple will give me, does that mean that I made the apple?
But the difference is you're using a real life thing versus a fictional thing that the mangaka don't go into with the full intention of it being at that level. Yes, it does, because at that point you go by consistency. You go by what they consistently do. You don't go by random outliers that have zero lineup with anything.
That's not changing.
Like, so far you're going with fan calcs and outliers.
The difference between it is not changing anything. The difference between it is not changing anything. I'm saying the only difference you say is because it's fiction and that one's not.
No, that's not what I said. I said because there's a difference. There's a difference between something that exists outright, we know for a fact in real life, versus something that was man-made in a fictional story where the mangaka don't go in with the full intention of how it works. Oda, Mashiba, Kishimoto, none of them write this saying, oh, this is going to be their power level. Like, they don't do that. None of these guys go into writing these mangas with power levels like that in mind. None of them go into it with the mindset of that.
If you're not going to let me talk once, I'm leaving. Cause, like,
okay, bye. See ya. Get out of here. You're making terrible statements. See ya. Oh my god. Yeah, like Lucy low-key clap, like, Luffy. I mean, she can kind of just go into her Aquarius dress and grab him and pretty much just end him there. I don't see how, like, anybody can look at Luffy feats and look at Natsu feats. I mean, I guess, like, he didn't even look at Natsu feats. He didn't even read the manga. Like, it's ridiculous. Natsu's pretty much... Natsu is, large planetary. Natsu currently sits at large planetary. Luffy's, like, low continental. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, that's why I don't like talking to calc people anymore. Like, calc people only look at calcs and look at nothing else. And most of them don't even actually know how these calcs work and go any of the rules by it. Because the people that mostly do it now are the the Versus Battle Wiki. And most of the people from the Versus Battle Wiki were people who didn't get into the outskirts Battledom Wiki. And so, like, they just do whatever the fuck they want. And that's why you have shit like people claiming... Actually, let me look real quick. Let me see... Versus Battle Wiki Ace. Like, what? Let me see this real quick. Let me see where Ace is on the wiki. Is he star level? It says country level. Striking class country, durability country, attack country. I'm gonna hit him with this. Hang on a second. He's probably still in the chat. I'll just leave it at that. Like, ugh. Calc people are just annoying. I used to do calc stuff, but, like, calc people are just, like, calc should be supplementary. It should be like data book. You should look at a calc and say, okay, this supports a claim. Consistency, okay, well, this is consistent with feats. This is consistent with, like, what's been applied in the manga. Okay, all these things work together, and I think that they make a good point. You don't say, oh, this calc has Ace at star level when there's literally 0 feats whatsoever that go anywhere near that. Like, not even remotely close. Luffy's multi-continental. I said, like low multi-continent is kind of where I'm at. Like, if you say multi-continent, I'm fine with that too. I think he's somewhere around that general area. I think that makes more sense than star level. Like, Luffy who's like having struggles all the time with, like, Kaido's attacks so he's not even breaking the island. Like, and it's like all AP and DC, but the people who say that ignore the fact that you need to have consistent AP with DC. You can't just put AP as this infinitely scaling thing that doesn't apply to outliers, that doesn't make sense. Like, even Schwazub, even in the freaking wiki that you go by, like, they don't have Ace at star level, so I don't really know what you're talking about. I was like, well, they've been disproven. Where are you getting your stuff at? Where, like, is this just, like, your general friends? You guys got your own fan-made calcs? Like, oh, man, like, it makes me want to just have, like, I gotta just do some calcs just on the side for people like this. Because I can do some fucking ridiculous stuff with calcs. You know what you can do just off of Natsu's, like, knowledge of having hotter fire than wall? Do you know what you can do with like a 50-mile AoE of 200 million degree fire, and what kind of numbers you're going to get from that? Absurd. Like, it would be absurd. Like, the gaps are just crazy. You look at, like, what is it? Zoro just went against his strongest fight ever. And he looked like, it was like fighting fucking Easel. I'm exaggerating a little bit. But it's like, he was not a hard opponent. King was, it's like, he swung hard, and he was durable and sometimes quick. He had no crazy hacks. He had nothing really to go off of. Shiki's like planetary. No, I don't agree. The thing is, I was like, what the fuck is that? It's like every once in a while there's a fucking ice cream truck that comes by, and I'm always busy or late, and it's like I've never lived in a place that had like a roaming ice cream truck. So at some point I want to catch them and get some ice cream, but I just haven't. I have not been able to catch them once. Every single time it's like I'm either close or they're nearby, and I think they're coming by, and maybe they've passed already, and then I'm standing outside for 5 minutes, and I'm just waiting, and they don't come anywhere near me. Well, the thing is, like, with the Eden Zero planets, like, people ignore, like, you gotta look into how big the planets are. Most of them are pretty small. Most of them are much more minuscule than people really want to give off. Only character Luffy can defeat, Lucy, Juvie. I don't even think he can defeat them. Well, he can defeat probably Juvie as long as Juvie doesn't waterlock him. I don't see him beating Lucy at this point. Lucy actually, like, the thing is, like, Lucy actually has really good feats. Like, Lucy actually has pretty good feats now. I mean, Luffy has, like, way better direct combat skills. So it would come down to, like, if Lucy could think of it. Here's my honest response. Yeah, he's driving the ice cream truck. I mean, that's the only way he could probably really get some point across. With the ice cream. Man, I'm just wanting more ice cream now. Where was I going? The Lucy versus catch the ice cream truck. It already passed by. At some point I will catch it, and I will inform you guys on the status. But where was I going? Lucy versus Luffy, legitimately. If Lucy can do a strategy in time, within the span of time before she either runs out of magic or Luffy just runs her over before enough, because like Lucy has the power and abilities to put Luffy down, but she does not have the durability to keep up with Luffy for too long. And that's kind of where that is right now. Like the star level. Could you imagine, like, people are trying to say Kaido is star level, and it's just like the dude doesn't even come close. Like, it's so goofy. Like, you have stuff like it takes 2 Yonko to put the crack in the clouds, and that little slash in the clouds, but Gildart's recovering from mortal wounds could put giant holes in there. See, this guy's like, who won? It really wasn't like, here's the thing, like, people like that, they only think of it like a winning thing. That's why they try and do calcs. It's only off of calcs, and that's why people like that only look at what's a bigger number. Whatever the bigger number is, they're going to go with that, because they only care about having higher feats. Lucy without her keys is nothing. I mean, yeah, but she's a summoner. Like, that's not fair. She is a summoner. She's not a hand-to-hand fighter. Like, that's a pretty goofy take, because not every character is going to be a direct melee combatant. Somebody like Lucy, who is a summoner, who fights with I mean, she has her own magic, but obviously she has to use her keys. But it's like, I'm trying to think of a character off the top of my head. I was gonna say Yugi, but it's like, I don't need to go into like another thing of like how absurdly busted Yu-Gi-Oh characters are. But you know what I mean. Like, there's a difference between a character who can just do their abilities on their own and versus a character who is capable, but they have to use something. Like, it's a conduit rather, because it's like Seven Deadly Sins characters. You take away their weapon, they're way weaker. They need their weapons, like whatever they channel their magic through, in order to be at their full power. We know that if like characters are dramatically weaker without the right weapon to channel everything. Yeah, it's like, yeah, Nami without her staff is trash. Yeah, Zoro without his swords. Who's another one? Chopper without his hat. He has secretly Chopper's hat. Shockslop? I don't really care. Shockslop has had bad takes in this stream for many, many times. Shopshlock, give me your actual... I want to hear your actual take. Who do you think wins between Natsu and Luffy? Natsu and Luffy, fully bloodlusted, ready to fight full force. I just want to go over, like, we need to have a day where we just go over, like, Alderaan feats, and we can look at Kaido feats. And just, like Dogramag. Dogramag could probably roll over and kill him. Dogramag could flex and kill Kaido. Like, Kaido is not strong, like, not strong in here. If Lucy can use Godfrey successfully, she wins. Yeah, I think that too. Like, Lucy's more of a strategy-based fighter. She's way more centered on her intelligence and way less on just, like, numbers and throwing attacks at people. Let me see what else is there. Dead and Crow just set up, would just step on Kaido. Right now, I will say I think Kaido right now is stronger than Crow. But the thing is, Crow probably is gonna have some hacks, and Kaido has like no real hacks, so he's probably gonna die. Luffy beat Natsu with what? Like what feats? And you're not who I asked. Saminian. That's a nice name. Is One Piece multi-continental? Yes, I think the Yonko level characters I think are multi-continental. You're gonna tell me to shut? Hang on, I might. If you didn't have the Raxamillion thing, I would probably have to I would have to put you in timeout. You know, I'm all right with joking, but there's a degree of respect that I need. And come on, I'd say it well. Sometimes I'll say something out of pocket, but like not too claps. No, here's the thing, Shockslap. The Whitebeard things. If Whitebeard was underground, if Whitebeard punched the ground and his shockwave went through the ground, it would be treated the same way as an earthquake. The way that people are doing it with calculators and calculations, they're putting the numbers into it with so that the calculators are going to treat it the same way as a natural earthquake. So say you have like a level of force, all right? It travels, I'll just pick it up, 50 miles. It has to travel 50 miles. 50 miles through, I'll just ask you, Shockslop, do you think force is going to have an easier time traveling 50 miles through the air or 50 miles through the earth? Like legit. Do you think that, like, which one do you think is going to lag down the power of it slowly or over time? Grandmaster? I don't know Grandmaster. I mean, it's more just like, come on, I mean, I deserve at least enough of a shred. You can tell me to shut up. It's a little too rude. It's my stream. I get at least that, like, extra tweak. It's like Discord. I'm not gonna, like, kick people out for no reason. I'll mess with your username, but that's mostly it. Crow, I think that has higher firepower than Kaido. I haven't seen anything yet. I mean, from what we've seen, legit what we've seen, because I think Xenolith, casual Xenolith in his weaker state, messing with Elsie and Justice, but like they were still able to fight. It just kind of dragged them down, and they were already hurt. Based off of what I found for the size of Forester, would put him at like island level. So if Crow has some hacks, I think that he'd win that, because it's like Kaido would stand there and get hit by it. Be cool if Hermit had her own Arsenal suit. Ooh, that would be cool. Ooh, that would actually be kind of neat. I actually like the idea of that. And Wise made over the years, that'd be cool. Natsu rival Suzaku. Gray is trash. Gray's not trash. I mean, like, oh god, it's Sam Minion. I can't remember if he's somebody before. Like, I have like 2 or 3 Gray haters that show up all the time, and I don't know why. It's like, I bet it's Iron Nancy. The earthquake thing actually makes sense because it had less resistance from the air compared to Earth. That's the thing. It's not that you can't look at his earthquake, or see, I'm doing it, his quakes, and treat them in similar ways of real force, but you can't use a calculator that is designed to take into account the Earth and then not, like, use it on something where it's not traveling that island level. I mean, that's just where it's at right now, because like Forester is like, it's like 7 miles wide. It's still a good level. That was what Xenolith did in a weaker body casually. Like, he did that casually. And it's not like the Galactica, I mean, it's Interstellar and Galactica. It's not like either of them were done or they were at full health and then dropped from it. It's more of like, that's something that they're more around. Rex, it doesn't matter when calculating earthquakes, you literally do not have to know where the center point was. You do. To a degree, the point that you have to know is how much Earth, how much resistance is the force traveling through. His stuff is not going to be the same thing. If you have an earthquake, I'll just pick a state. Say you have an earthquake. It shakes all of Australia. All of Australia shakes. You were able to look at it. Okay, all of that energy went through all of that. It was able to shake that much mass and do all that. Even after it's traveling through all that point, it's putting out all this energy, and it's still able to do this. You're able to figure it out. You're able to figure out all the variables in there, everything in there that comes into play, so you can look at the energy and say, okay, well, this is where it's at. You can't do the same thing for something that doesn't have to go through the same level of variables. It does not work that way. You are taking stuff into account that are going to inflate it. Because if it has less to lower the energy, less to lag down and give less resistance, it's going to be losing less force as it travels. Meaning, you could have an attack. Again, I'm just gonna pick numbers. Say an earthquake from the ground and an earthquake from Whitebeard both did say they're both went to the same location. One is a 5, the other's a 2. You could have the 5 eventually get lowered to a 2 because of how much energy it's going to lose traveling through the ground, traveling through everything, and as it goes. An earthquake a quake going through the air that is a 2 might not lose nearly as much and still be a 2. Shock slop. If you're going to tell me that all the stuff that has to travel through, force and resistance, everything that has to go through, and say that there's no difference between going through the earth and going through the air, I just don't think you're going to listen at that point. What is Shock arguing about? He's saying that you don't need to, the starting point of the earthquake doesn't matter, when yes, it does. If an earthquake from 100 miles away gets to a point where, a natural earthquake traveled 100 miles, got to Marineford, shook Marineford, it's going to have way more force than if Whitebeard is directly standing on Marineford and just punches the air and shakes Marineford. You should even have to really look into the science and look into everything that goes into figuring out how energy works to say, yeah, there's going to be a complete difference in how those operate. It's ridiculous. Gray over Aokiji. I mean, Gray eats Aokiji. That's not a fight. Off Galand probably got a huge amp. Oh man, I hope so. Well, the thing is, I was talking to Quan. Is do you think it's the Galand or it's a Chaos created Galand? Because if it's a Chaos created Galand, then that's technically a new character. It's Galand 2. Electric Boogaloo, I guess. Because he's not going to technically be the same character. He'd be like a character made off of reference from that character. Oh, it's just like the same guy. Saminian is just angry. Saminian, I'm gonna give you a little timeout, my guy. I'm not a fan of the over negativity. Gray's time will come. I hope so. Earthquake measurements only take into account force created by the epicenter. Are you not listening to what I'm saying though, and how you can't treat it the same way, or you can't treat Whitebeard's quakes the same way because they don't originate, or function in the direct same way? Are you reading what I'm saying? Are you listening? I guess not reading. It's not what I'm saying it. Would you put a Kaido at Spriggan level? No. No. I think that if Kainu went up against any of the Spriggan, he would probably die. What's wrong with Toshiro? Toshiro is mid. I have a long-standing dislike of Toshiro because Toshiro's been hyped up to be like Hiei 2. And Toshiro does not have the wins. He does not have the backstory. He does not have the cool moments. He does not have the tie to the main character or anything going on. And there was a point that had a really that I watched from a YouTuber. Tomo, he made a really good point that during the point when Ichigo gets his powers back during execution, that Toshiro being there made no real sense Because why would Toshiro be there to help Ichigo when they've never really had any form of like actual interaction? Like they've had like brief stuff in the anime, like filler stuff, but I mean like there's nothing really to go off of. Greatest best Aizujan anime, by far second is Fodder Toshiro. I'd have to look in some people, but I can definitely say there's gonna be ice people out there better than Toshiro. Toshiro is just like eh. Actually, I think Todoroki might be better than Toshiro too. Rate the best ice shooter Hyuga from Saint Seiya. I mean, if we're going by power levels, I don't really know anything about the character, so I can't really say in terms of like as a character. Resistance does matter. Why did you have earthquake calculated at different magnitude? It's just like that's what I'm saying. Calc people, I just get tired of calc people. Like I used to be a calc guy. I used to do calcs all the time. I used to talk to calc people all the time. But it's like when you really look at it from the outside and really then look at it from the inside, like both. From an outside perspective, when you see it, it's like calc people only care about calcs and they don't really care about anything else. Like they just go by numbers that they make, like literally in their own fan groups. It's not like there's some board of calcs for versus stuff, and it's been approved by the board. It's just like, no, my friend posted a calc on his blog that got 12 people to comment on, and then 4 of those were the same guy. It's just like, no. It's not the same thing. And then you look at it from, if you've ever actually been in with calc people, the whole system itself is really flawed, because if you only go by calcs, then whatever is not calced is just ignored. Like you could have say, Kaido, like I'll just throw something out. Like Kaido headbutted Onigashima and moved it. Not like a flame club thing, he just outright moved the mass. And you had a number for it where somebody says, oh, it's 10 gigatons or whatever. And then you have Alderaan, who shoots like the big spike from his Forest of Swords. And you see it impact the ground. And the explosion is multiple times Alderaan size. It's like somewhere probably between like 800 to 1,000 miles wide of a shockwave. No calc people say that the headbutt is stronger. That's just how they work. And I just don't really care anymore. They're annoying. And it's just like that. Like, they only know how to go off of calcs. And the stuff that they go off of is only off of calcs. It's not by feats. It's not by consistency. It's some random guy did a calc. So Ace's star level. Like, yeah, there you go, I'm sure. That's like the Boruto is multiversal people. It's just annoying. I'm just going to ignore Shock Slop. He's not listening to what I have to say at all. Maybe soul manipulation magic is amped. I mean, I don't care about her. I don't care about her at all. Like, she's like, who gives a fuck? I'm here for Galand. I'm ready to see my dude go back on a golf world tour. I think my no current Shiki would probably battle a fairy tale. Currently, Shiki would body battle a fairy tale arc Laxus. Oh yeah, I agree with that. Laxus at the time wasn't that powerful. I mean, Laxus was like low wizard saint level at the time. I would say, like, just because we know that Mishima has always portrayed Jalal and Laxus within visible range of each other, I think that kind of wizard saint area for Laxus at the time would be fair, and Shiki should be higher than that. Like, Shiki should be a good chunk higher than that, especially, like, you know, if you compared like the people part 1 to Shiki, then yeah. I haven't listened to what you have to say, Shockslut, but you're ignoring what I'm saying. You're ignoring entirely of what I'm saying, and again, it's why calc people are like, they don't care. They don't care about anything other than what they got in the calc. Anything besides that, they're not going to listen. They're going to completely ignore any form of other argument. Calc was done. Calc makes verse stronger. Big numbers. That's all I want. Have you watched any of Spencer's videos? No, I don't want Spencer's videos. I don't really interact with Spencer much. I'm not a huge fan on overly goofy Spurg people. I don't have any problem with Spencer as on a human or personal standpoint, but I don't want to debate or really converse with somebody who gets that goofy too fast and it gets to a really weird, awkward stance. I just don't really care for that anymore. Like, the yelling debates, they're fun to a degree, but they don't go anywhere, and I just don't give a shit anymore about that. I'd rather I just kind of, like, actually have a back and forth. Like, how I did it with Faith and Broku, I think, is way more productive and way less annoying. I'm just not a fan of the shouting matches anymore. They don't do anything. To a degree, on somebody that like I would, just some random I can argue with to that same setup. But I don't really ever like care to argue with anybody who argues with the series they haven't touched, and I try to do the same thing. And I've said that a lot of times with stuff like Fate and like the last season of Magi, or I guess less Arc, but anything like that where it's like if I don't know anything about the series, I don't really want to. I don't really like try and give as much of a stance on it. Like if it was something like Sakamoto Days or something where it's like, yeah, that's a series where it's like superhuman, but I'd be willing to bet that a random character who Cobra would be able to solo, like for sure. Versus if you said like Cobra versus Orient, like that's a series like I'm not even close to caught up on Orient, and Orient has some crazy feats, so it's like they could easily be crazy powerful, especially because it's by the lady who did Magi, so it's like yeah, she's got crazy feats and power levels in her history. So I'm not going to argue with that same setup until I actually look into it myself. And this is why, like I said, context matters. And you have stuff like mentioning burning time, mentioning beating gods, and it's like, what are you talking about? And then just trying to worm it into different ideas. I mean, that's cool, Shockschlev. You weren't really putting anything out. You were just talking about his quakes, because they aren't earthquakes. They are quakes. It is the quake fruit, not the earthquake fruit. Oh, no, they're the same place. You're talking about like earthquake calculations, but like earthquake calculations generally work through earthquakes by the earth, not through the air. Show me airquake calculations. We can talk about airquake calculations. One sec. One second. Anyway, you got Ace losing to lava. Like all these dudes losing to lava. Like it's ridiculous. And then you want to say him at star level. Orient characters have decent hacks. One guy's strong spatial vision. That was like it was around that time that I where the translations were. I forgot that Shiro, I think is his name. And he was like cutting parts of space, I think. Like he was pretty sick. Like I don't really downplay One Piece. It's just not that powerful of a verse in comparison to stuff like Fairy Tail, Naruto, Bleach. They don't have nearly as much of those giant jumps. Like we got that, but it was with Whitebeard, and Whitebeard was the top. So it's just like we already saw the top. Like imagine if we got the Dragon Gods and like full power Acnologia in Sirius Island. So it's like we never really had any bigger jumps. It's just kind of filling in the gaps between where it was before and where it's at now. Because, I mean, really, like, Whitebeard still has, like, the best feats in the verse. And every other feat since then has just been in the gap between the best feats prior to Whitebeard and Whitebeard. Everything has just been kind of in there, in that kind of, that general bookshelf area. Because it's just like, what else is there? You have, like, characters losing to boiling oil, losing to bullets. You're gonna tell me like Odin's star level, but he's dying to bullets? Come on, like what kind of like goofy ass stuff? The One Piece like fans like that, it's just making me laugh. Just because some of those are a little bit too much, a little bit too far beyond like a realm of like upper kind of like fairness and then kind of goofy stuff. Like I didn't really go into like the whole. I don't really vibe with the whole crazy absurd giant numbers of heat for Natsu for his fire until the stuff really kind of like put out with Wall, and I was like I can't really argue with this, so it's like yeah, like it logically makes sense. It logically actually makes sense with him burning time, which is the thing that I thought was actually like really that kind of like last nail, because if you scale like heat going like starting at like 200 million is obviously crazy in terms of like numbers, but like the feats are feats. And then keep going, you're going to reach Planck temperature. And that's how you can burn and affect time with fire. So it has a lot of potential. How did Mishima ruin it when he had like one of the longest story arcs in the series, and he had like one of the best story arcs in the series, and his whole redemption was great on that. I am One Piece fan, but I am not biased like others I see. Well, the thing is like, part of the problem is One Piece has not had a verse ceiling raise. Like they have not had power levels of their verse at the top raised since Marineford. So the only way they've been able to really do it since then is with stuff like ridiculous calcs that go nowhere. They don't have stuff like, going from Margear and the Celestial Spirit King to Spriggan, where it's like they could do that stuff casually with no effort, and then you jump up to like Dragon Gods and stuff. You see Celine casually pulling the moon around. You don't have that in there, and it's like you can do the same thing with like looking at like Black Clover. You can do the same thing looking at even My Hero, but it's like we're probably not going to get that for One Piece until like the last arc. We're probably not going to get those bigger high-end, maybe the next one, because I think there's only going to be like 2 arcs left or something, 2, maybe 3, but we're probably not going to get those big power ceiling raising feats in One Piece until following now, because now Luffy is Yonko level, so Luffy can raise that bar. Like Luffy and like maybe Shanks or Blackbeard can raise where Whitebeard left off. I do think that they can in the future, just they haven't yet. With his Darkbring hacks, how far do you think Luffy can get in some of these sins? Oh, he can clear. I think he can clear. Did Natsu get shot in the mouth and just brushed it off? Yes, that is also true. Like, actually, hang on. I might send that to him. Like, I'm about to do a little trolling. Hang on. I'm about to do a little troll. He probably left. Is he still in the chat? Is he skulking? Is he still in here? Luckily, I know he is still in here. Schwans, if you still are in here, you're not clever on anyone. You're not smooth or slick. Just take the L, my guy. Wait, what power level ceiling did Black Clover have? Not the same thing, but I mean you can kind of. Well, probably the first the last full one was the fight with Patry and the fight with Patry and Julius was for sure. Like, that was by far the biggest feat in the series at the time. And then the flashback, because I think logically, without showing the feat, based off that, it makes sense for Demon Licht to be able to wipe out the country. If stockpiled Patry and Julius at their full, I mean, it's a little hard now with Lucius, but it's like that full power, being able to affect most of the country. So like something that is logically above them with the Ancient Demon Licht, which I have a conversation with that at some point now that it's like the Ancient Demon Licht should be without a doubt stronger, like not even close, if we know how powerful Lucius is. And like people who like, we can look at like Lumiere, like really where Lumiere was in comparison and stuff, and there's still gonna be people that scale more bi-weekly, but with the whole statement that the full powered attack from Demon Licht was going to wipe out the whole country, I think even without seeing it, it makes sense and it's viable. It's from a reliable source, someone like Lumiere, and it's a step above what people who that we were shown and what we would be at, because Wizard King level people, a Wizard King level person said it, and it's a threat that he's like worried about it. So it's like, okay, that should make sense of it being a step above what was shown before. A step above most of the country is the country. So that to me makes the most sense of its biggest feat. Lucifaro 50% I think does sit higher, but in terms of like it's just outright feat, I would say I would say that the like just straight feat. I'm not talking about like people who are gonna go into like multipliers and a bunch of dumb stuff like that. Like just straight the feat is that. Like some multipliers I'm fine with, but it's like when sometimes people go too crazy. When it's like, hey, this is a ×3, and then it's like you use like 8 comparisons to turn a ×3 into a ×500, and it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I think Kurt Urza could tank Wall's Ethereon cannon. Yeah, I think she could. I think it would take a lot to tank it, but I think she would be able to do it. Let's see. Vanica Curse Bombs are some of the best raw destruction feats in Black Clover. I mean, those weren't the thing is, like, they weren't as big as I think people think, because the whole bit that they were used, it's like people compare it like, say, like the country, but it's like you can look at the area of the country that it covered, and like the Clover King, not the Clover King, all 4 of them really, but like the Heart Kingdom as well is a small kingdom. It's a small country. So when you like look at that area and you look at like a couple explosions covering up chunks of a small country, and you look at like the towns that they were at compared to the lake, or like that, not like a lake, I think it was more like an inlet or whatever the fuck. You see how big it is compared to like townships, and then you see like the size of the explosions. It's like some people exaggerate a bit of its size, but it's still pretty big. I would agree. Like in terms of the straight AoE, like just straight size attacks, I would agree. I'm just trying to make that post real quick. You got Natsu shot in the mouth, and then you have Odin, who's like dead by boiling oil and a bullet. It's like, it's not even close. And then it's like, what, lava? Lava's like a big threat for them, but like lava and fairy tale is just like some, Arcades can walk through it. Anybody at that level on a magic standpoint should be relatively fine. Natsu's just probably gonna like hang out in like its jacuzzi. If Zeref didn't have time stop, how would the Spriggan 12 working as a team do against him if they all jumped him? I mean, he still clap him. He still clap the shit out of him. Like, one of the things that is a really big tell for Zeref's mastery of magic is the fact when Irene says that even in her 400 years, she couldn't do anything to her form, but it was nothing to Zeref. Like, it was child's play. It was simple to him. Like, his level of magic is just so much higher than anybody else that, like, he like, one thing that's also overlooked, he can seal magic, so he could just look at him and make it so they can't use magic. Just seal it up like he did with the space between time. Like, Zeref is just so broken. Like, that's why, like, you're making jokes about, like, a wet dream would be, like, my wet dream would be, like, a spin-off about Zeref. I mean, yeah, I would love to see a unshackled Zeref, like, in a straight fight. Like, I don't need it to be, like, he's found an equal. I want to see him, like, I would love to see, like, ideally, there's maybe, like, an enemy nation at one point that wanted to come upon his empire. Maybe this is early in the Alvarez Empire, like, near the start. And what made people want to follow him. And it's like an army of like all these crazy wizards. You have all these guys with like wacky designs and one-off names and like magics that they'll say is like crazy broken. And it's just Zeref walking, like Zeref literally just kind of like casually moseying through like just straight a walking path. Everybody's rushing him and he's just one-shotting everybody. He's just doing broken magic left, right, and center and just taking care of everybody with no problem whatsoever. Like that's something that I think would do great for a quality of life improvement on Zeref. Because I think the only thing you could really do in terms, like, to improve Zeref even more would be, one, if we see more into his descent into madness. But that's more of, like, that's something that would just be more for me, I think, because I love stuff like that. And for like, a fight aspect. Because we never really saw Zeref in, like, a fight where he wasn't just pretty much, because of like context of the story, wasn't just going to just run through people or pretty much nerf himself. Because Zeref with Natsu, we know he's not able to do the full extent of what he can do. Because one, Natsu has like ways of countering, but also Zeref in character didn't want to do that because he wanted to fight him. Like, he wanted to have a good match. I'm trying to remember what chapter the Odin stuff was, like, when Odin died. And he's, like, dying to flintlock pistols and shit. Let's see. The Heart Queen can control mana all over the kingdom, which is a decent-sized country. I mean, that's AoE. Like, it's not offensively, though. But I get what you're saying. Like, she's just, the stuff with... I wish Lolo had, like, some form of offensive magic. Like, I wish he was, like, Mimosa, who had one offensive spell. She had one thing that she could do that was like a way of attacking. Like just something that she'd be able to pull out clutch and be able to actually utilize. I just sent him the one of Natsu getting shot in the mouth in part 1, and then Odin getting shot in the face, and he's dead. Like, bullets still didn't really hurt Natsu. I haven't heard the rumors about what Kuro Madoshi Zeref, Zeref the Black Wizard. Zeref in his school for years, how he built Alvarez, how he recruited the Spriggan. I wish so bad we would get, like, like a spin-off of just, like, a volume of seeing him just gather the Spriggan, building the Empire, and just seeing all that go down. Like, young August, see, like, who... Because, like, the thing about it that kind of would make me a little confused, not in the same, like, full expanse, but it's, like, most of the Spriggan wouldn't even really be there until... Not, like, recently, but, like, pretty recently. Actually, real quick, let me see something quick. I don't think there's an age for Agir Rommel. Let me see, I remember his name because I've always liked Agil. I always thought Sand abilities are cool in general. I don't think he has a definitive age. I don't think we've ever said. Because Brandish Brandish Demaria, I would assume, are around the same age. And so, like, what, 14 or so years prior to Alvarez was when they were going... No, 10 years, right? Shit, I'm messing up time. Oh, no, it was before the previous time skip. Oh, my God, I'm messing up time. No, it was 1 year before... Oh, my God, I'm messing up my time. I need to go and reread some parts, like, cause that's gonna bother me for a little bit. But prior to the existence of the story, like before obvious events, like, because he didn't even meet Irene until what would be like, this would be like the 7+ would be like 25, 26, maybe almost 30 years, from Alvarez, like that point out of, I guess, like, he actually, no, hang on. Because, like, he only made Alvarez from when the point when Mavis was going out. Like, he was just starting, which was only, like, 120 years? So I guess that probably lines up more, like, way closer to everything. Because, like, if he didn't get out, as August should be only a little younger than Makarov. So it should only be, like, 80+ years. Within that 80-year span, like, August and then the rest of the Spriggan. But most of them are pretty young. Lore Zeref is more, in terms of lore, wasn't Zeref more fared than Acnologia? I mean, Zeref is a more interesting character. Do you think Zeref and Natsu's dad was a mage? I mean, he just seemed to be some dude. Like, he was some guy. Zeref in his school years, how he built Alvarez. Oh, I read that one. Yeah, that'd be sweet. I'd be a big fan of that. Man, a Zeref spinoff would be so good. That would be just like my favorite idea. But anyway, we're going to call it good here. Short, fun stream. I do want to start bringing more people on. Just kind of like have, Ultir versus Yukino and hand-to-hand. Oh, Ultir still claps. Like, Ultir, it was actually really good at hand-to-hand combat. Like, actually very skilled. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to call it good. We'll meet back on Tuesday. The plan is, so my plan right now, what I'm probably going to do, because at the time of I normally have the chapters like that when they come out, and then I'm doing my live review or live reaction. I should be in the middle of doing stuff at work. I don't know if I'm going to be there the whole time. Like, I might get finished around that same time. I might get done a half hour later than normal. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to look at the chapter until I get back, and I will, everybody's going to have already seen it, which is fine. But what I'll do is I will hold myself back for during that time period of looking at the chapter, and I will do it on stream so people can see it and people can get my my live takes. Because as long as eventually maybe I'll do it as eventually I'll do it to I'll wait for the actual the fan translate chapter. If we ever get if we ever get a simul release, I'll definitely wait for the simul release. But cause the fan chapters, it could be the same day, or it could be fucking the following Friday or something horrendous. But yeah, Zeref against the whole Empire, that'd be amazing. I would love to see Zeref just walk through and just note of everybody. But anyway, other than that, comment below. Check out some other stuff in my videos. And remember, guys, context very much matters when you're talking about versus stuff. And it's you don't know anything about a whole other verse, and your only thing